Longsword Feather by Wukusi. I am impressed. Wow, this thing is just so well built. I had so much fun taking this thing apart. It's been out for almost a year or two now, and it's one of those really interesting Chinese products that came in on the human market quite recently, actually. So, first impression is that it feels really light. It's actually really nice handling longsword. It feels really good. It's extremely nimble. Nothing feels heavy in any way. It just feels light, like really nicely light. Most feather I handle is either tip heavy or it's actually very close to the hand. But then on this one, because the shield is so big, the point of balance is practically like in the middle of the shield. So we're looking at about 2 inch away from the center of gravity. So I think that's kind of what makes it so pleasant to hold. Oh no, we're gonna let's just start with the hilt for now. It's quite a pretty little thing actually, and it's extremely economical. So if you buy one of these, they go to about 300, 350, depending on the time you buy it, you get discount, and we're talking about Canadian. So 300 to let's say 400 Canadian dollars for a whole feather. That looks quite nice. It's not bad. I like it. So we're gonna start off with this. You come with the faceted pair pommel, which is it's one of my favorite pommel, just because you can hold it. It's quite nice, and I believe these are all casted metal, and casted in a way that they're not even polished. I suppose that really keeps the cost down, which is quite nice. It's a training tool. It's okay. Nothing, not everything has to be super nice and flashy and fancy. So we're gonna see that this comes with one of the hex nut. So if you ever choose it, you can tighten it, loosen it, change the blade, do whatever you want. I always like a peened sword. But if you follow me on my other video, there are pros and cons on peen compared to threaded sword. But of course, for the sake of switching on the guard, this one is a threaded one. I used to like threaded, but I think more and more now, I think peen is actually the way to go. But in any case, we'll get there. So, nice little pommel. It doesn't twist in any way, so I suspect, we're going to take this apart in a bit. I suspect that the pommel is actually having a slot inside here where it receives the tang, so it doesn't twist. Whereas on the backside, it will be like a circle. So how they do that, they on the base of the pommel, they kind of mill up like a little eye kind of thing, and here you just pour through. That's all. In any case, this is a plastic grip. The grip doesn't not look 3D printed. It's actually classically just molded in two pieces. We're gonna if we look zoom in more, you see that line right in the middle. So it's kind of like when you have the top mold, bottom mold squished together. You inject plastic into it, and that's how it gets it. Quite nice, really economical. I like it, and it looks kind of badass actually. So I love the geometry of the handle. It's a very complex handle if we really look at it. And personally, when I carve my own handle out of wood, that's kind of what I default to. We're gonna see that it's one of the classic 15th century wasted grip. Is kind of what they're called. I think it's what I call them at least. We're gonna start off with a nice little thick octagon kind of thing where it has center ridge, but in a way that is done nicely because the handle is actually rounded, so that if you ever put your thumb onto it, it's not going to cause you any issue. And it's quite pleasant to hold still. With all these little, I guess they kind of copy wire wrapping. It does give you a really nice purchase. And when you have glove on, it's not going to be an issue at all. So it starts off with a nice wide, skinny, narrow handle, which is great because if you hold onto your hand, it's actually kind of looking like what this is. So it actually perfectly mirrors that. And when it goes down, it follows a silhouette until it widens out to a nice little circle that meets very cleanly to the pommel. There's a little bit of plastic here. There's a little bit of plastic here that's like kind of like poking out. That's okay. It's not that bad. In any case, so it goes into a nice little hand guard. Nothing too fancy. I got a straight guard. Apparently, there's 3 guard options that you can get. I like the classic style, nice and straight, kind of cute. Comes with these little facet diamond, which is nice. A lot of times when you actually get these little points, either they're too pointy or they're too rounded. Too pointy, then they're kind of tournament illegal because you can just like jab someone, and that's just nice and cute. and this is going to be a cast metal, it seems. Um, a lot of people actually question about casting a metal itself because casting metal always have an implication that it's weak. Well, that really depends. Are you casting good metal or are you casting just any metal? If it's being done right and the metal is rather homogeneous, nicely balanced, and well, there's no slag and all that impurity into it, it's okay. So I quite like it. I thought of cast hill before, and they don't break that easy. In fact, I haven't really broken one yet. Anyways, so the shield is up, a nice big fat shield, and I don't see there's too much distal taper on the blade. There's actually some. It does distal taper a little bit. It seems like it starts off at roughly around almost like a 4 to 5 millimeter thick. It's actually quite nice, and it tapers to almost like a good 2 to 3 millimeter at the last end right here, which is really rare. A lot of economical swords that you get, maybe not just feather swords, they are a stock of bar. It means that it became quite tip heavy, but this has a distal taper into it, which is really nice for a sort of entry level price. And of course, profile taper obviously has a beautiful profile taper. This one at the beginning of it, it starts off roughly at about a good, let's say, an inch at the base right here, and it kind of tapers all the way down to almost half an inch at the very, very tip. This whole blade itself, I'm going to count from the tip all the way to the crossguard. It is a very generous 39.5 inch. Given I'm off by 1/8 of an inch, but hey, 39.5. Quite nice. By the time you tip it, you're going to get that back. Okay? And one of my favorite thing about feather sword and any sword in fact, it's especially the tip. I always find especially the tip to be much more tasteful and nicer looking than one of these rolled tip. The rolled tip is out, they have a little cavity inside, and sometimes when you're just accidentally hitting skin, you could technically ice cream scoop someone's skin out. I know, right? If you haven't got one of those, please don't get one of those. They suck. Any case, so yeah, they come with a nice, beautiful specialty tip, very, very safe. And but you still should tip this because you're still getting hit by a crowbar. Um, General thought itself, it is not wobbly. I can swing. I'm just gonna, do it on the flat edge, not strong edge, but flat edge. It's not wobbly at all. It's quite nice. I had Castile small feather blade, and they were quite wobbly, but this one's nice and straight, and it is still relatively bendy. Some people will say it's on the medium to slightly stiffer side, but I think that's okay. It's quite nice, and it bends at the 1/3, which is perfectly where we want our swords to bend. So very, very nice. And this entire feather weighs in at 1,578 grams, which is very light for a feather. Now, of course, there are feathers that's lighter, there's feathers that's heavier, but then this feather itself, it weighs only a few hundred grams more than my single-handed sword, and so I'm quite happy about it. When you get one of these feather, I've seen them assembled, and I've almost seen them disassembled. So, well, because it's mine, so I guess I'll take it apart. Anyways, we're going to be using a very standard Allen key. Is that, well, it's just what it is. And one of these are going to be connected with one of these connector post nut, or whatever you want to call these things. Comes off quite easily. I always prefer my pommel to be threaded so I can just twist the pommel instead of carrying an Allen key with me. But when you're getting into economical swords, it's quite different. Oh, that's interesting. Weird. Okay, so it's a nut. Oh, it's a bolt. That's per se. Sorry, pardon me. It's a bolt with of course a Loctite nut into it. That it looks like an M10 thread coarse nut. Um, bolt. Sorry. Why? That's so weird. Usually the tang goes all the way, and then it has at the tail end of it, it has the threading on the actual tang. But this one has a threading. So let's see what's going on here. What am I looking at? The heck? Yo, that's weird. Okay, the pommel, it's coated all the way through with a slot in there. And what is, whoa, whoa, this is actually really smart. Okay, this is weird. This is super weird. I've never seen this before. The tank has a little um the actual receiving post nut here that is actually pinned into the hand into the blade, and whoa, HEMA technology advancement. Yo, this is crazy. I thought about doing this a long time ago, and I'm glad that someone actually done it. So they have found a way to get away from the classic issue about having the weakness of the threading. A lot of times, what happens is that in the blade, there's actually like thread that cuts into the tail end of this hang, and every single one of those thread creates a little sharp point, and those thin and sharp point will snap because your pommel is a counterweight, and it snaps at that. But because they have this, and it has a bit of wiggle room, any force that's being driven, well, when you're hitting things, Newton's law, second one, I think. Whatever force you do, it has an opposing force, that kind of stuff. I'm not a scientist, but in any case, if you hit something, that force is going to travel down your blade and it's going to go here or somewhere. It's going to get distributed, right? Because it has to eat the force somehow. Now, I suspect this is going to wobble in some way that actually helps absorb a lot of impact, and it doesn't break your pommel off or your blade. And so I'm like, this is actually rather ingenious. I thought about doing this as well, and I just have a hard time coring through HEMA blades because they are extremely tough, thank goodness. So by it doing this way, it's kind of like having a messer. A messer is when you have a couple of these hangs, the whole handle goes onto it. So then the force actually goes back to your handle, transfer into you, and it's a lot more less damaging on the blade. So seeing a sword doing this is that's crazy. I'm very impressed right now. I'm just so happy for entry level swordblade to have this kind of technology. I'm just extremely impressed. Totally worth the money. I kind of want to buy another one now. Any case, tank itself, nothing. Guard itself, nothing to be spoken of. We have a nice little channel, and this channel is wider on the top side, skinnier on the bottom side. So then, what happens is that your blade doesn't fall through. I mean, when your blade has a shield that big, it's not going to fall through anyway. So cool, nice little detail. Because when you slide this in, you're not going to get any gapping on it because it goes all the way in. Very, very nice and tight. Everything seems to be nicely milled. Let me see and see it as well. Shield itself, I've always been extremely critical about the shoulder of the blade because a lot of the older traditional HEMA blade, especially when we go back in time where we have swords like Tinker Pierce, the blunt feather and stuff like that, they break all the time. But in any case, the reason why I do prefer this kind of style is because we have to be very critical about looking at the shoulder of the tang to the base of the blade. Now, what happens is that, as I mentioned, when you're hitting something, force gets transferred. When you're hitting something, force gets transferred down. There is, of course, that movement is actually moving quite laterally. The lateral tension itself is that sometimes if these points are too sharp, meaning that if this comes down and it goes right into a 90-degree angle, there's a very sharp point right there that will snap the tank right there. We stopped seeing that almost a good 10 to 12 years ago in most HEMA blades, that they start having wider shoulders, or in fact something like that, where it's like a staggered shoulder. It means that when the force is being distributed, it will be being distributed at a 45-degree angle, and it goes down your tank, which is fantastic. So I am not surprised that if anyone says that, yeah, this thing lasts forever, I think that it's going to. This is extremely overbuilt for an entry level sword. The more I look at it, the more impressed I get. I'm just so happy about it. I actually learned a little bit of a building lesson, so I'm glad I got this. So, in any case, everything goes back right in together. There is no need for any washers because I guess everything just built actually quite better. Sweet. And the last thing that I really didn't show you is actually the inside of the grip because I just yanked that thing off because I was so excited about this. Well, in any case, it's piece of plastic. I don't know what else you want me to talk about. Piece of plastic. It's a piece of plastic. Nice and cute, nice and light. If you want to whack people with it, I guess, but it's extremely light. So let's put everything back together. Um, Sometimes when you put a sword back together, it never goes back in the way it is, and it's kind of like off wiggly and jiggly and stuff like that. But nope, goes back nicely. That's lined up. I really like how this assembly is done. It's just such a smart way of doing it. I like it. I really like this. I really like this sword actually. That goes back in. I kind of like how they use metric nut, nuts and bolts. If anything happens, you guys should just buy them at Home Depot if you want. Well, maybe not every Home Depot because they're like Imperial. Yeah, Imperial. So if you want to buy metric stuff, you can actually get it at Bolts Plus. I found many at Home Depot. You can get them online. Try not to get them online. There's some ways to fix this, right? This goes back in. Yep, nice and easy. I like it how just in case if you don't have an outlet key, you can just put your finger into it and tighten it, and you can spar a little bit. That thing's not gonna fall apart. But of course, if you need, please tighten it back up. Right? It was so much fun playing with this thing. Everything nice and solid. Ooh. So let me just smack a shield. Get that. Point of repercussion is actually lower than I expected. Most of the swords about right here. This one is about right there. So the point of repercussion is roughly around 14 to 16 inch down from the tip of the blade. Kind of cool. Well, in any case, feather blade. So yeah, Longsword Feather by Wukusi. I am impressed. Wow, this thing is just so well built. I had so much fun taking this thing apart. By the way, guys, disclaimer: if you could ever let me handle your sword, I would just instantly pick it apart because I love sword constructions. That's just my thing. I'm a huge nerd about these things because at the club, I'm the one who fixes everyone's sword. So if you haven't picked one up yet, I say go for it. It's actually really nice. I am not a longsword guy, but wow, this is fun. Any case, so yeah. And then a quick little look at the Wukusi. I'm just so impressed with the sword. It is fun to play with. Yeah, so this sword is technically already sold to someone else. I haven't been sparred with this yet. So yeah, whoever is the new owner of this longsword, you should be proud. This is like a turning point in HEMA history. Man, this is cool. Anyways, signing off for now. And when you get the sword, and you can do a little review videos as well when you're sparring with it or playing with the sword, let me know. I wanna see a follow video. So yeah, any case, Kim here from the One Plus Armory, and if you have any comments about your longsword or even their very common fencing mask that we all live and die for, let me know and comment down below.